Hi friends, it's Miss Leslie and thank you for watching, and hopefully you already watched the link that's going to tell you a little bit about the past and the present, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, the past and the present. And present, I don't mean like things that you get for the holidays that are wrapped up when you have a gift inside. Present means something else. So the past is things that happened long time ago or then, and we have the present that are things that are currently happening now, right? So we say then and now, or past and present, or a long time ago and then now. So things a long time ago, even before you were born, I was born, or mommy and daddy were born, were very different. And we have different ways of communication, different ways of cooking, different ways of transportation, and even the way that we played or the way that our clothing looked was different. So we're gonna go over some things that were different so we know the difference between the past, things that happened then or a long time ago, and things that are happening now or that are going on now. And we have I have a very cool little experiment that we're gonna do, and we're actually going to make butter, which is so cool. So people back then, that'll be under cooking, used to make their very own butter. They didn't buy it at the grocery store like we do now. Okay, so let's get started. We have the past and we have the present. And in communication, back in the day, a very long time ago, there were absolutely no phones. So that was absolutely not a way that people can communicate. The only way that people can communicate was walking to each other's homes or sending letters. They would send letters to each other. And here I have it's like a little tub, and it looks like a feather, because back then we did not have pens like we do now. Our pens didn't look like they did now, or our pencils. What they used was a feather, and they used to dip it in ink, and that's what they used to write. There was no pens, and then there was no pencils that people used to write their letters with. So they used to write people letters and tell them what they needed to tell them. And sometimes people wouldn't get the messages for a very long time. But that was the only way that there was, because there was no telephone. There was no telephones. Nowadays, we still have letters, so we still can send people letters through the mail, but we have a much faster way of communicating, which is telephones, right? Almost everybody has a telephone, and if you need something, you can just call somebody up any second and tell them exactly what it is that you need to say, without having to wait days and days for a letter to come to tell you what you need, right? And next we have cooking. So back then, in the older days, people used to go to the forest, and they used to chop down their wood, and they used to light a fire, and they used to put their pots on the fire, and that's how they would cook their food. Or they would use stones and stone ovens, because they didn't have what we have now, which is what do you think we have now that we used to cook in? That's right, ovens. We use ovens to cook in now, and stovetops, right? And they're electrical. Back then we did not have any electricity, right? So we had to use wood to make fire to heat things up. Now we have electricity that does that for us. So we go ahead and use electrical ovens and electrical stovetops to be able to cook our food. So we no longer have to go out, chop our own wood, bring it in, make our own fire, and heat up our food that way, or make our food that way, right? And that's why here I have a light, because that is another something that's included here, because how I said that we used to not have electricity, back then we didn't have any light. So the only way that we could be around the house lit up was with candles. Okay, so we had to light up candles, and that's the only way that our homes, or we had to walk somewhere, that's the only way that we could get a little bit of light to see that where we were going. As opposed to now, where we have electricity, we have light bulbs, we have lamps, we have flashlights, we have all of those things that help us light up around the house. Now we even have our phones that have flashlights on them, so we can use that to help us light up. We no longer have to use candles, unless sometimes in emergencies and our electricity goes out, like in a storm, or an earthquake or something like that, and the power doesn't work, it gets knocked down, then sometimes you will get to see that we will have to use candles if we don't have flashlights with batteries in them to light us up, right? Because now a lot of people don't keep candles around the house unless it's for smelling the candles, because they make our home smell nice. Or birthday cakes, we don't really keep candles for the sake of lighting up. We have lamps, like I said, we have light bulbs, we have other things that help us light up. So that's communication, cooking, and lighting. Another thing is transportation. Can you guys guess why transportation back then was so different than transportation now? Let's see if you can take a guess. You'll never guess what we used to use back then for transportation. Did you guess? If you said horses, you're right. So back then, people used to ride horses to get from place to place. There was no cars, okay? The cars were invented later. So the only way of transportation that we had was cars. And people used to attach carriages to them. And that's how they used to transport more than one person. So you could ride one horse on top yourself, or they would attach carriages that could carry multiple people, and that's how people used to get from place to place. They would use horses because we did not have cars. That's right, we did not have cars, so we used horses and we used carriages to get from place to place, and that's how they used to carry our mail too. So you can imagine, horses can only go so fast. They can't get our mail to us as fast as they can now, because now or emails, right? We have emails now too, that on the click of a computer button takes our mail right to the person that we need, and we don't have to wait for horses to get it to us anywhere. Okay, so after transportation, we have clothing. And clothing is interesting because back then, boys could only wear one type of clothing and girls could only wear one type of clothing. So guys wore pants with shirts, and usually they wore some sort of bonnet or hat on their head. But women can only wear skirts, or they could wear dresses, and usually their dresses were very long dresses. They had buttons up to the top, and they were long down to the ground, and usually they had long sleeves, and they wore bonnets on their hair too. They couldn't wear wherever they wanted. Now, girls and boys can wear pants, they can wear dresses, they can wear skirts, we have sneakers, right? We can wear all different kinds of sneakers that we want. So everybody just wears whatever they want, and we buy it at the store. A lot of people back then used to make their very own clothing. They used to make it at home with sewing machines and stuff like that. They wouldn't really go buy it. If you went to buy it, it's because you had a lot more money and could afford it. But a lot of people made their clothes at home, and some people make their clothes at home now too, with sewing machines. And of course, there's people in factories that make our clothes, but usually they send it to factories and we just go buy it at the store, right? Because it takes too much time for you to make your own clothes at home. But that's what people used to wear. So women and men could only wear certain types of clothing. They couldn't just wear what they wanted. So those are basic differences that we had back then and now. And like we saw a few weeks ago, we learned about maps. And people used to get around by maps that other people used to draw them, because there was no GPS like we have on our phones now. Now we can just input an address and our phones will tell us exactly how to get there. We don't really have to use a physical map that's made out of paper like they used to do back then. And back then as well, like we're gonna see now, it's gonna take us a few minutes. People used to make their very own butter. So I'm gonna show you how that goes. They used to make their very own butter, and it's very, very easy. So all you'll need is a jar or something with the top, because it needs to be tight. And then you'll need some whipping cream, okay? So you need some heavy whipping cream, and you will need your muscles, okay? Because you're gonna have to do a lot of shaking. If you don't shake it, then your milk doesn't turn into butter. It needs the motion in order for the fat in the milk to stick together, and it lets all of the water out, and then you're left with delicious butter, and you can try it on some toast. It's really great. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and I have my jar here. It says my name. It's really cool. But you can get anything you want that has a top on it, and you're going to get it. You're gonna go ahead and open it up, and you're just gonna pour about half of a cup of milk, okay, of heavy whipping cream. So you can ask your mommies and your daddies to go ahead and help you. So I'm just gonna pour some of that in there. Okay. And then you're gonna make sure you shut it really tight because you're gonna do lots of shaking. And if you're shaking and it's not closed, the milk is gonna go explode everywhere. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and you're just gonna start shaking it. And you can take turns, you can have your mommy shake it, you can have your sister shake it. You can see for how many seconds you can go. So you're just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it all around. And then you're gonna start feeling that it gets thicker inside. Okay, look at my silliness just shake everywhere. Okay, and we'll open it up and we'll see what it looks like in a minute. So you see how it was very, very liquidy, right? And now let's see what it's gonna turn into. I have a little spoon so we can see if it's gotten any thicker. Ooh, your arms are gonna get tired. Maybe I should have my mom help me shake it too. Oh, let's see. Oh, look at that. It's so much thicker now. Let's get a little out with the spoon. Look at that. It's already changing. Okay, so people used to milk their cows and then they used to put it in things that used to shake it so they can make their very own butter so they could cook with. So let's go ahead and we're gonna keep on shaking. Shake, shake, shake some more. Oh, and I can see something happening. It's separating. Look, it's getting thicker so you can see it's coming away from the jar. Okay? Bang it. Oh, look at that. So let's try to open that up again and see what it looks like. Okay. Whoa, look at that. It looks cheesy. Even thicker. How cool. Keep shaking. You're doing a good job. If that's what it looks like. Okay, so now it's getting harder because it's thicker, so you need to shake harder. Okay, and you can see it's clumping up all together. We're gonna get our butter soon. We're gonna have our toast. I hope you're not getting as tired as I am. Shake, 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 shake. Oh, and you can see it's changing some more. It's clumping even up more. Look, now you can't see it here, and you can see some other liquid in there, and that's the water that's separating because the fat is clumping all together to make our butter. Let's open it up and see what it looks like in there. Look at that. Okay. How cool. We're starting to get our butter. It dropped a little bit, but it's okay. So just keep on shaking. We're very close. Oh, I think it's not closed right. Let's open it and close it again. I don't want any spilling out. There you go. Okay, so keep on shaking. We're almost there, guys. Almost there. And now you can see there's lots of water in there. Oops, too high. Okay, water, and there's our lump of butter. How cool is that? We got our butter in there. Keep shaking so it lumps up all together. Keep shaking, shaking, shaking. Almost done. Okay, you guys see that? We got our lump of butter in there. Okay, so then you can go ahead and you can pour it into a container. So that's our milk without fat. in some of us in our homes, we have what's called non-fat milk, and that's where their milk has no fat because they separate it out of it, and that's usually what you get. If you want to taste it, you can go ahead and taste it. It's perfectly fine to taste, to see if you like it, and then we'll take the butter out of there. So we'll separate the two. Okay, it's all lumped up in there like butter. You can put it in the fridge for a minute so it gets nice and cold and a little bit harder so it's not too soft. Okay, so I've got mine. You can go ahead and you can dump the water out. Okay, you see that? Dump all of the water out. So then that's our buttermilk, just the milk. Okay, and I have a paper towel here that I'm just gonna pour my butter, I'm gonna put my butter onto, just to kind of wipe the rest of the buttermilk off of there. Whoa, fresh made butter. Didn't know you could cook, did you? Look at that, you're a butter maker. Okay, and you can just wipe a little bit of the buttermilk off. And then you can go ahead and you can put it on a plate. Okay, I've got a plate here. You can put your butter in there, and you can add a little bit of salt onto your butter. Okay, you can go ahead and you can mix it. Okay, mix it, mix. And if it's too soft, you can put it in the refrigerator so it gets a little bit harder, but I like my butter soft. So I think I'm just gonna have it like this. Okay, and then you can go ahead and grab some. And I've got a nice piece of toast here. So you can put it on your toast. Spread it on there. Okay, look, nice butter on there. And then you can go ahead and you can taste it. Tastes great, like butter. That's awesome. And you made your very own butter. And you can save the rest and maybe have it tomorrow with some toast in the morning. And now you know how people used to make butter back then. So we had things that were done a long time ago differently than they are now. But now you see that you can make butter just like they used to back then, or you can buy it at the store the way that people usually do it. I hope that you guys like that. I hope that you make the butter and you get to taste it and try it on your toast and let me know how you like it. So that's the end. I love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.